I can resist anything except temptation. The English theologian John Owen said, "Temptation is like a knife that may either cut the meat or the throat of a man. It may be his food or his poison, his exercise or his destruction." As we come to the end of the Lord's Prayer, we have the sixth and final petition in Matthew 6:13. It says, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." This is more than just a request for God to protect us from the evil that's in this world. As we dig into this, let's begin with the first half of the verse that says, "Lead us not into temptation." Now, why would God lead us into temptation? Well, that's just it. He doesn't. In fact, James 1:13 and 14 says, "Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desires. God never tempts us to do evil or sin." This phrase is asking that he allow us to be spared from the difficult situations that would cause us to sin. During times of hardship and persecution, it can be easier for us to slip into sin. Just think about how we talk to people when we're stressed, or how we act when someone hurts us or takes advantage of us. That does not mean we should key their car or kick their dog. Maybe their cat, but not their dog. We need to pray for God to deliver us from the temptation. We will inevitably face hard times in our lives. James talks about being tested and how it develops perseverance in us. The trials we go through make us stronger. But we should not pray for testing or persecution to come. As a Christian, it will come inevitably. Rather, I would encourage you to pray Psalm 141, verse 4. "Don't let my heart incline to any evil, to busy myself with wicked deeds in company with men who work iniquity. And let me not eat of their delicacies." Now, let's not overlook God's power here. He has control over what tempts us. However, James 1:13 states, God will never tempt us. Think about the prayer this way: "Please do not allow me to be tempted to do evil." The other side of the coin from leading us not into temptation is that we want God to lead us to do what is true, right, just, and good. After all, the best defense against sin is to seek God's direction in truth. The last phrase of the Lord's Prayer is, "Deliver us from evil." God uses trials to test our character. We see this in James 1, verse 3, when it says, "For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness," or perseverance. We have already determined that there are going to be hard times in this life. But for a follower of Jesus, we should expect persecution. Now, I know there are some people who go out and look for trouble, but Jesus is not telling us here to pray for trials to come. He is telling us we need to pray that we are prepared for the trials and that God will sustain us through those trials. In the global church that is being persecuted today, in places like China and North Korea, their prayer requests echo the Apostle Paul in Ephesians 6:19 and 20 when he says, "Pray also for me, that words may be given to me in opening my mouth boldly to proclaim the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that I may declare it boldly as I ought to speak." You see, we are to pray for God to see us through the trial and remain faithful to Him. When we bring Matthew 6:13 back together, there are two parts of this request. First, we are asking God to lead us to good and away from temptation and avoid the dangers of sin, because it is a slippery slope that leads to destruction. Second, regardless of our trials, we want Him to see us through and deliver us from the evil that we are facing. As we finish this study on the Lord's Prayer, join me as we recite it together. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom
and the power
and the glory forever.
Amen.